I'll give y'all a few minutes to get in here. I'm sure I'm competing with some of the big guys that's holding lives. I know Doug was live. Josh is probably live. Not sure. Maybe a couple of y'all will jump on with me. I hope so. I hope some of the things I found is worth you guys coming. Hey, Crystal. I've worked hard digging this stuff up tonight. And some of it is just appalling. Some of the things I found is just, and you guys know that I am not sticking up for Don and Candace. I'm trying to stick up for Summer here. Hello. How can federal inmates and people with mental illness, people who holds the world's records for the most lawsuits, go to the sheriff's department and try to convince law enforcement that they have generated any kind of leads. Y'all tell me. When they have pretended to be family members of mass murderers, and I found out it's not just Sandy Hook, it is a couple other mass murderers that they have involved themselves with. They have harassed veterans. And I want to read y'all something that I found on the internet. And I'm not going to bore y'all with a lot of reading because I'm not a good reader. But I kind of felt sorry for this guy. And it's actually a GoFundMe from a veteran in Florida. And it says, "Hi, my name is Angelo Zappacosta. I am a United States Marine Corps veteran who suffers from anxiety and depression. I was arrested for allegedly pushing and yelling at Jonathan Lee Riches, a known felon on probation and a fraudster. He has filed thousands of unwarranted lawsuits. After extensively casing my home from the street, Jonathan Lee Riches and Andrea Griffin came onto our property and proceeded to take pictures and videos without my permission. He and his cohort then proceeded into our front porch area where my front door and living room window and my fiance's 19-year-old son's bedroom window is. My stepson was home at the time and didn't hear anyone knock on the door. What were they doing, trying to peep in our home while my stepson was home alone watching TV and playing video games? You watch the video and decide for yourself. The video has been taken down by now. When I was told what he was doing from a neighbor and saw the footage, I immediately went to the Northport Police Department and reported him and asked for a no trespass order to be issued to him. The officer said he could give him a verbal trespass if he knew where he was. I told the officer he would be outside Brian Laundrie's home from sun up to sundown, yelling on his bullhorn just like every day for the past 2 weeks. Even though I told the officer my stepson would be home alone again tomorrow, and I felt this man was a threat to my family and my property after watching the video and then reading about him on Google, the officer said to call him if he come back. I said I didn't want him to come back. The next day I spoke with another police officer and requested that day they issue him a no trespass order again. This officer said that anyone can be trespassed and they did not need to wait for a second occurrence to happen and that he would do what they could do to check into it. Next day, still nothing, even though the police had a strong police presence in our neighborhood, and Jonathan and his bullhorn were there like clockwork during those 2 days between when I reported him to and when I finally got frustrated and confronted him myself. This man, Jonathan Lee Riches, has been posing around the neighborhood as a news reporter. News reporters. News reporters know not to film on someone's property without permission. Also, Google Andrea Griffin. Wow, Google her now. I myself have served honorably in the United States Marine Corps. Have lived in Northport for 14 years. I have a clean record. I was a volunteer coach. I have been a volunteer cook for Meals on Wheels. I have been a productive member of society. Thank you for taking time to read. If you're still on the fence, I invite you, when we are done reading this, to Google my name and then Google his name and see what comes up. The money I'm asking for will be used to protect my rights from this fraudster and predator and a lot of people's rights. P.S. I believe followers of Jonathan Lee Riches are still trying to have this GoFundMe account removed. And they did have the videos taken down. And there's still just one video up. Uh, and he's telling what they're doing in this video. And I'll play it here in just a minute. And the GoFundMe, I don't think is valid anymore. The story that I'm telling is what is valid. And what he's doing is he's going around and he's telling about how this guy was dishonorably discharged and he's a no good down to no good veteran that's this and he's that and he's and anyway, he's caused this guy PTSD, he's caused him anxiety, he's caused him stress, he's caused him to get arrested. Just listen to just a minute or two of what this guy says in his own words.
I appreciate everybody who's donated, and um, people are bringing things to my attention, like this man saying that I was dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps. Um, it can't be further from the truth. I have a general under honorable conditions discharge. I have a VA card. I have VA insurance. Someone who's been dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps cannot have any of those things. They have no benefits. They're really not even allowed to call themselves a Marine no more. So that kind of dug deep when I seen that that's spreading through social media like wildfire, and he's dragging kind of everybody and anybody that he can into this, and it's a shame. Uh,
He's doing it just for
but this is
headlines.
just kind of between me and him and everything that's happened. But that's kind of why I need help and protection. I need like a good civil civil lawyer. I need to have him stop doing this. It's really affected me everywhere I go now. People see me. Uh, I get a lot of support, but I also get a lot of "you're a disgrace to the Marines. You're not a Marine. You were dishonorably discharged." And it hurts. This is one of the worst things that you can lie about. For a Marine is him being, uh, a true Marine or not. But anyway, please, if you keep
My
spreading the word
son
for
is a
me, I
veteran,
appreciate it.
and that hurts
All the
me to
support I've
see
been
a
getting.
veteran hurting
I
like that
unfortunately had to get off a
because
lot of
of a
social
piece of
media. I
shit.
can't keep up. I'll preach to the
I mean,
Marines.
that bothers me.
Just
That somebody would do one of our veterans like that has fought for our freedom, just to make a headline. And what this is going to do is going to destroy any credibility in the Summer Wells case or the Rose Bly case. And both cases will go cold if we don't get this guy out of here. What is he going to do to both of these cases? And this is just one example. I can go ahead and get into some of the videos that I made and tell you about how he claimed to be the kid's uncle that shot the 20 kids in Sandy Hook, and he showed up in Sandy Hook 2 days later pretending to be that kid's uncle, and how he had dolls in the car that he had named after the kid and his brother, and was riding them around in the car talking to them. He admitted to being mentally ill, and he said that he feels better when he's in jail and on his medications. And when he is at the police department talking to these investigators and detectives, how do we know that he's on his medication and he feels well? Oh, thank you. I love Marilyn Monroe. Anything Marilyn Monroe or James Dean, I love. And I know that even as a medic, I mean, I worked with some bipolar people, and I know bipolar people that functions just fine, just like recovering addicts. As long as they stay off drugs, they recover just fine. But his credibility and his track record, do y'all know why he does not hold the record for the most frivolous lawsuits anymore? Because he sued them. He sued the Guinness Book of World Records for putting his record out there for how many lawsuits he actually has filed. And do you know when he filed a lawsuit in prison that they waive the filing fees, that you don't even have to pay for that? They're considered low income. So he's not even paid a filing fee on 90% of his lawsuits. He sued the Guinness Book of World Records for putting the number of lawsuits out there to the public of how many lawsuits he's actually filed. That's how stupid he is. He sued Elvis for stealing his sideburns. He has sued the Kardashians. He has sued Kanye. He has sued, I can't tell you how many just goofy things that I have read that he has sued about. Oh, which NFL team was it? I don't remember, but he was at a football game of some sort. And while he was at the football game in the stadium, one of the coaches supposedly molested him. I mean, it's like he makes a joke out of everything. And I am just concerned about what he's going to do to this baby girl's case. Now, they have contacted the police in Wisconsin about what they were supposedly told about where Rose's body was at. Now, those police are going to look up who these sleuths are. And when they look up how many cases he has meddled in, instead of actually looking into this tip, they are going to laugh their ass off and close the case. Witnesses have been tampered with. And let me tell y'all what I read. Do you know that some of those news crews was paid up to $3,500 a day to stay out in front of the laundry home? 3500.00. Look it up. Look it up. That's how much money is going through. And hey, he can sue me for slander if he wants to too, but he's got to prove that it's slander, and I can back up everything that I have said. And then I'm going to sue his ass back because I thought about that before I put this out. I most certainly did. I didn't see his crime video. But I did. I thought about it and I thought, well, it's the people's right to know exactly who these people are involved with this case. And I noticed right before and right about the time that those three or four went, all this cash started running through. And we had one creator start crying about $10,000. And why do we have that amount of money running through a missing child's case? I have never seen any case where creators have that much money running through or a promise of that kind of money running through. And that is wrong. If a suspect or anybody that is going into the same house as a suspect, or anybody that knows the suspect, or anybody associated with suspect says, hey, I'm going to wire you $10,000. You know what I'm going to say? Hold on. Let me call the FBI. And then you can wire me $10,000 because something is wrong with that picture. There is no missing child case that should have $10,000 running through it. And those damn non disclosure agreements, you're exactly right. They, that's, they shouldn't even be on YouTube. In my opinion, and this is my opinion, and I've said this before, YouTube is here for us to let the public know a little bit more than what they can find out. How's that? Is that better? But YouTube is here for us to let the public know a little bit more than what they can find out on the mainstream media. The mainstream news does not let the public know everything. I'm sitting in my bed and I've got the phone propped up against my quilt there, and it's probably kind of muffling the sound. We are not supposed to accept $10,000. We're not supposed to sign non disclosure agreements. We are supposed to have fun and learn to create that little bit extra truth. This is the worst case I have ever seen. Don is not at home. He's not there. If y'all remember, back when he was talking to the woman that was local that had the two little girls a couple weeks ago, he said, I'm not going to be here, but Candace is going to be here. Well, when all this broke loose the other day, everybody was saying, have y'all asking Benny, have you texted Don? Have you texted Don? And he showed up once to meet Molly, and then Mary said that he was in rehab, but he's not in rehab. I think he's staying at the second property that they bought back in the beginning. I have kept telling people that there was a second property involved. And I think he's scared of a warrant being issued, and he's staying at that property that he bought over in Washington County. I think that's why Candace went and filed the charges against Molly Golightly and Olivia and Jonathan. Because Don's scared to go up there. It's in Washington County. I will have to look again. I found the property back about 2 months into this case. I will have to go back and get the actual address. I was waiting for the other property to come into play. I don't think he's staying there at night. If he was staying there at night, Candace would not have been at the hotel or in the swimming pool with Benny that late at night. That was pretty late. He has sued everybody. Olivia said that Candace filed charges, that there was trespassing charges filed. I seen it right before I went live. It was on YouTube under Chronicles of Olivia. But it was just like I don't even think it was 2 minutes long. And that's all she said. And it showed the picture of them standing on the easement when Benny come down the driveway holding the log. And that was all it showed, was that and the phone call where Don said that it was okay for them to be on the property. But see, they went down there and they presented themselves as decent human beings, sleuths, when the police already looked at YouTubers and social media like we were all, every one of us, piles of shit. And that's what's so bad about this, is they had already downed social media so much. Those investigators don't think that there is one of us that is worth pissing on if we were on fire. So when they went down there and they done that, it was like they acted like they were representing all of us. Oh, we have 2 million followers between the three of us. So now Don and Candace went and filed charges, and they showed their ass and they trespassed and caused problems and everything else. So what does that make the whole bunch of us look like again? And it makes Don and Candace look like they're golden. I'm disappointed in the TBI. I am disappointed in Hawkins County. And I am disappointed in Molly Golightly. I am disappointed. I've never heard of Olivia and Andrea and this other jerkwad. Oh my God. And I'm not really heard anything too bad about Andrea. She seems to be well spoken, and I think that she's just with two idiots that don't know any better. And am I the only one that sees Molly that can't hold her eyes open most of the time, and she's wobbling back and forth and her eyes are just closed, and it's like, fuck, get off them goddamn oxys or whatever the fuck you're on while you're on a live and open your eyes. Am I the only one that sees her eyes closed and her wobbling back and forth? Xanax, is that what it is? Okay, I'm sorry. Molly, I apologize if I accused you of being on oxys. If it's Xanax, get the fuck off of Xanax. Well, Andrea needs to find her some other teammates because she does seem to be a well spoken woman who could probably succeed in her endeavors. But the other two has got to go if she's going to pursue these avenues. Or the other one's going to have to clean up some because she's fallen asleep on lives. I mean, she's nodding out. I have been talking about Summer, Alicia, this whole time. And what's benefiting Summer. And these YouTubers going into the police department and trying to represent Summer. Nodding out is not helping Summer. I wish it were. And I believe that Andrea could possibly help Summer. There is a place that I wish that somebody would check. And the last time I called TBI, they treated me like it didn't matter. And as far as I know, it hasn't been checked. And I thought about just going and checking it myself and not saying a word to anybody about going, just taking a ride one weekend and just going and checking. And I don't think Jonathan was really a YouTuber. I think he come mainly from Twitter. Before he teamed up with Molly Golightly, right? So I was talking about a Twitter person, really, not a YouTuber, technically. And I don't have a Twitter account. And I don't know Olivia. Now, I have heard that the girl is clean as a whistle, that she does not have a record, that she's never been arrested, that she absolutely has like a flawless record. And if that's true, that's great. That is awesome. That's what we need. But somebody who is representing mass murderers. Oh, did y'all see the video that I uploaded on Jonathan where he was saying free Susan Smith? That we needed to let Susan Smith out of prison? Did y'all see that video? Check that one out. He's holding up a sign and it says Free Susan Smith. I guess it was okay that she drowned all those kids. That's the problem that I have is with Jonathan Lee Ritchie's holding trying to represent Summer while he's holding up signs that says Free Susan Smith. He likes to make headlines, is what the FBI says. And he claims to be a jihadist. And like I said, so many of us, mothers, and a lot of us have lost sons in the military, don't want to hear that crap. Whether it's making political headlines or not. And he does that mainly during election years. But it's like that letter I read from the veteran. We don't want to see our veterans hurt and harmed and stressed out and given PTSD. We want somebody that can help find Summer. Somebody that can help find Rose Bly. Somebody that can actually help these investigators, not harm the case. I don't want an investigator laughing off any clues that they're given, any leads that they're given, or close the case simply because he's involved. That's my fear, that they let the case go cold because they simply won't follow a lead that they've been given because he's involved, because they feel like he has self-generated the lead or planted evidence. There's been, if you look on the internet, there's been cases where they feel like he's planted the evidence. And we need good, solid evidence with Summer. Every night since she's been gone, I promise you, I have not slept good. And I don't care if that Trace Labs get mad or not. Y'all remember Cam and Allie saying that Trace Labs was on Summer Wells' case? Y'all remember that? I followed that in Discord. And I watched the game go on in Discord. And the first time it went on, they found like 4 pieces when they should have had like 4,000. And they said that there was just, her case was just too saturated on the internet as it was. And there was just nothing. There was nothing on the dark web. Her case was just too oversaturated. So they tried doing it again, like the next weekend or the weekend after, and it was the same thing. And as it stands right now, they are not doing her case. And they said anybody who released that information would be put out of Discord. And I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't care. Again, I'm not going to sit on one of Cam and Allie's bullshit. Well, we'll tell them this and we'll tell them that. I'm not sitting on it anymore. That's what was said, was her case was too oversaturated on the internet for them to help. So basically, there was nothing Trace Labs could do at that time. I don't trust Jody Sue, and y'all know that, as far as I can pick her up and throw her. I believe that she knows more than what she's telling. I think that she knows enough that she could wrap this case up for us, but she's not going to say it. And all of it is not money. I think that there is enough money in the reward fund that she could get out of Beach Creek if she wanted to. The thing is she don't want to leave that area yet. I think that there is still hope in her mind that that man's going to take her back and they're going to live happily ever after. And she's still sitting there waiting to see if her marriage is going to work out or not before she opens her mouth and says another word. Because $74,000 is enough money for her to get out of Beach Creek and disappear. And that is just my opinion. Can't prove it yet. Because she says, the last story I heard just in the last few days is, well, even with this going on and with that going on, there was never enough to call anybody. And she was referring to CPS. You could tell she was referring to CPS. There was never enough going on to connect this to this. And even when this was going on, there was not enough going on to connect this to this. Bullshit. If you seen those kids carrying sippy cups full of liquor, that right there was enough to pick up the phone and call the police, and they would have called CPS. That right there alone was enough. Right there at that moment. If any of those kids was holding sippy cups full of liquor, that was it. So don't tell me that there was never enough. So if you got one over here in a soggy diaper that was dragging the ground and carrying a sippy cup full of whiskey, that there was never enough to do anything, you're a effing liar. Well, what's going to happen is she's going to end up sitting on it and sitting on it and sitting on it until somebody else says something that incriminates her, and she's going to end up sitting in jail with them instead of just getting the money and run. $74,000 and the FBI giving you a new identity, you could disappear. If the FBI would agree to give you immunity and you disappear and a new identity. Um, what gets me though is during the search, when they were searching for Summer. Let's go back to the days that they were first searching for Summer. They had people searching their own properties. They had suspects searching their own properties. And then they had registered sex offenders on horseback searching for this child. Tell me what part of that story just don't sound good. And my channel is not monetized in any sort of way. Not super chats, not anything. So I don't care what language that y'all use. If you want to say sex offender, if you want to say whatever. And until Summer's case is resolved, this will be one channel that will never be monetized. And that is a promise. I will not be one channel that y'all wake up one morning and find an ad on. Right. There's not anything. There's not nothing. Not a piece of cloth. Nothing. And those footprints that they found could have been weeks old. They could have been months old. When she come up missing, you can go back and look at the weather. And it had been weeks since it rained. Now the bottom fell out like, I think it was like 4 days later, and it stormed. It rained like hell. But up until then, it had been a while. I would have to go back and look in my notebook, but it had been a while since it rained. So, however long it had been since it rained would be however long that ground had held the scent of footprints or a scent of anything, even the scent in the driveway. And that's another thing. I believe what Dave Rader said with EquiSearch. I have followed EquiSearch for years. I trust them. I trust what they say. I trust Tim Miller over Hawkins County and over TBI. Okay? Dave Rader said the scent went down the driveway. And when he was asked after Don said that the scent went down that dog trail, Dave Rader said no, it went down the driveway. And Don has twisted the story so much that people now believe that it went down that trail. But if you go back and listen to what Dave Rader says, he says it went down the driveway. Pick your poison, but I personally believe what Equisearch said. Yeah, I'm torn between. I think it's funny that after I come out with the theory of she fell off of that hunting blind, that the hunting blind got tore down and done away with. To me, that's funny. Why did he wait until after somebody come out with the theory that she fell off that hunting blind to finally tear it down? So I'm torn between she fell off that hunting blind and hit her head on that limestone rock in that shallow creek. So I'm torn between the accident theory and possibly being hid in one of those SDA Branch Davidian type schools because that's where the evidence has led me. Well, one thing that Candace keeps saying, and Don keeps saying too, I'll go back over it really quick. The boys are allowed to go down to the creek only and if they have their knives and their walkie talkie radios. I believe, and I always have, that Hunter came back home with her that day. And I believe that they were up there smoking pot and drinking. I believe that she sent the boys down to the creek to play. And I believe that Summer went with them. And they were down there playing hide and seek, just like they told the police that they were. I think that Summer and possibly the oldest one, that he hid her up in that hunting blind. There was a board sticking out. One of them was sticking out about this much further than the rest of them in the videos. And it just looked bad. I think she fell through, and there was some limestone rock to the side that was about that big around. I think she fell through and she hit the back of her head. I think the boys hollered at Candace on the two-way radios, and Candace run down there, and she is the one that started screaming, and she started screaming, "What did you do? What did you do?" David Dotson used to be a paramedic, so she called him, and that was the first door that Jody Sue heard close down there. And then here comes Jody Sue down there. I think that then, when Don and them gets there, I think that Summer was took over to the address of 125 to Jody Sue and Andy's house, which would cross the road. That would, her scent would be crossing the road at that time. And I think that that's where her body was kept until after the search was done. And then she was put in a vehicle And then she was done away with. And that's my theory. That would be my accident theory. And I sat on that theory for a while that Jody, Sue, and Andy kept the body at her house. And that's why Andy seen the body, and that's why he kept telling the kids that he's, and screaming at the kids. And he was traumatized by seeing her body. And that would fill in a lot of those blanks. And why Jody Sue herself is kind of traumatized from it. And then, if she was sold or if she was trafficked, if you go back, you hear Jody Sue's story of being sold and trafficked, or being traded, I guess is what you would call it. And you've got that history there. Why agree to help hide her body? Because people do stupid shit when they panic. Jody Sue knew how much trouble that they would be in. And people panic when they do stupid shit. Well, she might have been took right back across the road and buried on that property somewhere, or buried in that house, or wherever. But if she was sold, Jody Sue's got that story of being traded up in the Midwest until her grandpa come and got her back. So then now you've got that history, and you've got that area, and you've got her talking about Andy bringing in, 800 and something pounds of meth at a time. And now you've got the drugs coming in. There's the situation. And money, possible money being owed. And they're all in it together. Or the 14 men coming down from New York, possibly bringing the drugs down there. I've kind of thought that maybe there was money owed to those 14 guys in New York. And, well, there wasn't at first. That Jose was left to collect the money. And when all the money was collected, he was supposed to go back to New York. Well, Don come back in and caused a big scene and caused that whole thing to happen. And whatever happened to Jose happened to Jose. But either way, he didn't show up to New York with the money. And if you'll look, Summer disappeared exactly 6 months to the day of when Jose disappeared. 6 months. And that's usually about the time you get, about 6 months if you owe money on drugs. 6 months is about your time limit. And I thought, well, maybe they come and collected a kid on a large drug debt. Right, a ring, exactly. Because Don went to jail on October the 20th, and Summer come up missing on January or June uh, the 15th. 6 months. I don't use mods either, Tracy. I let everybody speak their mind. And I appreciate your compliment. I have never used mods. I get along with everybody. Thank you, Swamp Angel. And if a troll does come in, y'all just ignore them. And if you just ignore them and don't speak back and give them no attention whatsoever, they go away because nobody is feeding a troll. So nobody has found Jose. I don't know, and it's funny that Jody's hair is shaved the exact same way Summer's was at one time. I don't know what she meant by that, but at the very least, the way I kind of took that is she can't have any more babies, and I think she was either talking to her son or her daughter, maybe trying to talk one of them into having a baby. Talking, fresh babies smell good, or I don't think that she meant it like eating fresh babies like some people took it. It did sound kind of weird. I could be wrong. She could be eating babies, but I took it like fresh babies smell good. Because nothing is, I love the way new babies smell. Even when even when they poop, they smell good. She does talk in code a lot. Comment on anything you want, Sky. Anything. She did say that, and she said something about pushing one off of a cliff. I remember that now. Y'all are exactly right. She did. And she said something about, and nobody would be in danger now if they would have, something like that, if they would have sold. Y'all are right. Y'all jarred my memory. Y'all are exactly right. And that she did say that right about the time she said something about the fresh babies. I have to skip around to listen to her because, like I said, the first 30 minutes you have to listen to her talk to one of them animals. Then you get to listen to her talk to the kids. And it takes like the first hour and a half or 2 hours to even know what she's going to talk about in the video. BK gives me a headache with the hollering. And I finally, as bad as I hated to, I said something to Nita today. And I felt bad after I said something to her. But it had got to where every time I go over there, she is screaming at her subs. And I was like, dang, girl, I can't even come over here anymore without, you screaming and hollering. And I just can't do that. I didn't see that tattoo. I seen the sunflower on the inside of her arm. Yeah, I told Nina, I said, you cannot scream at people in one breath and ask for money in the next. It don't work out. Right? I agree, Tracy. Does anybody know anything about that? Um, what does she call him? Hatter? She did, and she said it was dangerous, or somebody would be in danger. And that has stuck with me, and stuck with me, and stuck with me. And the police don't care to seem to care about that. I know that was turned into the feds. I heard Jody Sue say that Candace turned it into the feds and CPS come over there. What is what is on that property so bad that it's worth somebody dying over? Because it don't look like anything to me. I have searched that property on Google Maps, Google Earth, Google Satellite, and it just looks like a piece of junk property to me. I don't doubt that in that small town. Well, good night, girl. Love you. Thanks for staying and sticking with me. That whole hill just feels evil to me. It's almost like his house is on a freaking burial ground, like a big burial mound to me. Night, Leona. See, I thought like burial mound for a while. No, not an underground railroad. It's almost like an old burial mound or something. Like I said, I'm about ready to drive up there and see for myself and just not tell anybody I'm going. It's not that far of a drive for me. There's a place close by that I want to go check out. Oh, I wouldn't go up on that hill. It's just there's a place around that area that I think she could have been dumped that's still close enough. I damn sure ain't gonna take anybody like Jonathan Lee Ritchie's with me, that's for sure. I'd rather take my chances by myself. They've checked the sewer pipes, though. TBI's got pictures of where they checked the sewer pipes. You know, when I was an active paramedic, there was meth addicts around here on these mountains. that would dig underground bunkers that would be the length of a trailer or the length of their house. And they would actually live in the dugout part of the bunker, and they wouldn't even live in the house because they was scared of the police, and they stayed in that, like, that underground bunker all the time because when they would have heart attacks from doing that damn meth and stuff, we would have to go down into those bunkers that they dug out and get them and stuff. And I have thought for months that Dawn has had her underground somewhere. And that's the honest to God's truth. And that she's fine and he's taking her food and stuff. Has that crossed anybody else's mind? Has anybody else seen drug addicts do that? Dig out hole, like big holes in the ground? I mean, damn, nice holes. I mean, livable underground holes that you wouldn't even know was there. Yeah, I missed that. Let's see. I don't know, but there was right beside where that shed stands on the bottom part of that property. Google Maps shows that there used to be a camper there. Where's the camper? It's not Grandis's camper. That's a newer camper. Where's that camper? Is it buried somewhere? Under that school bus, is there a hatch that goes down in underground? Here's a thought. What he calls a dog trail. Is that possible? Look, the dog trail seems to go back and look at the pictures. I wish I could pull it up somewhere. My tablet's died. But the dog trail leads right up to the door of that bus. Could it be a drug trail? Could it be where people would just come up the trail and go straight into the bus or straight up to the bus doors to do whatever kind of buys or deals or whatever and just bypass the house entirely at times? That's why I said whatever kind of deals they were doing. So is it possible there's a hatch or something in that bus? Excuse me, my stomach. I made red beans and rice for dinner. Bad choice, but it was good. Um, is there a hatch that goes somewhere? Look, being a paramedic, as long as I was a paramedic, I have looked at pictures of Summer, and I can tell you this: there are places on her that had turned to permanent bruising. There was places on her face where her face had been grabbed like this so much that it wasn't even purple bruising anymore. It wasn't even green bruising anymore. It was a permanent discoloration of brown where it was. Mm, and that's bad when the skin has bruised so much, so many times, that the whole pigmentation of the skin changes. That was one of the first things that bothered me in this case. That's one of the first things that grabbed my attention 6 months ago. Is I remember it was she was wearing like a spaghetti strap shirt, and her little head was turned and her mouth was kind of open like that, and she was just staring with a blank look on her face, and you could see the permanent bruising around her face. And I clicked on the picture. I thought it was dirt at first, and I clicked on the picture and I zoomed in on it, and I said, "This can't be permanent bruising." And I sent it to a coroner friend of mine who is now the EMS director in one of the counties. And I sent it to him and I asked him, and I said, "What does this look like to you?" And he agreed with me what it was. And it just made me sick. And that's when I knew I wanted to help her. And that was the day I promised her that I would not give up on her. And there is something about this little girl, I don't know what, because I don't get involved with every missing child case that I see. In 25 years, I have seen more than I care to see. I want to leave that shit at work and not deal with it when I get home from work, I promise you. But there was something about this little girl, and I promised her that I would not give up on her. And I'm not. And some days it's tough. And that's why I cannot let fraudsters like Jonathan Lee Ritchie keep going to investigators. and presenting themselves as distinguishable people that can help Summer. While he's holding a sign that says, Free Susan Smith. Even if she's not alive, she deserves for us to send her off the proper way. She deserves a celebration of her life, no matter how short it was. Everybody deserves that. If she's not with us anymore, that means that her little life ended tragically. And she deserves better. And it's up to us to give her better, no matter how hard we have to struggle to get her there. And then whoever done that to her, if a coroner decides that it took her X amount of time to die, that's how long it should take during an execution period for whoever harmed her to die, in my opinion. Absolutely, it means they can't hurt her anymore. Oh man, Benny had, as bad as I dislike Molly or anybody else, he had no right bringing anybody's body parts into this. I'm Molly's size, and I don't care to be skinny. I don't care to be a small girl. I couldn't do my job. I couldn't lift 200 and 300 and 400 pound people if I was small. But Benny is no prize himself. Benny has a lot of flaws with his body. So he has no right talking about anybody else. That's so wrong. And Karma's going to get him for that. Just like him talking, I heard him talking about a girl the other day that only had one tooth. Something is going to happen to him to where he's going to end up getting one of his tooths knocked out. And he's going to have one tooth. Because Karma's a bitch. And he's going to meet Karma one day. I like being thick. And here in the South, the men like their women thick. Look, every man I ever had said that they didn't want to feel bone in the bed. I have heard Molly Golightly make fun of Shanann Watts after she was dead. So I, I've heard it out of Molly Golightly too. That's when I quit watching Molly Golightly. So she's wrong in a lot of ways too. But that's one thing I've never wanted to be thin. I've never wanted to be real, real big either. But I enjoy being healthy and nice and thick. You didn't know that Molly Golightly made fun of Shanann Watts after she was dead? She had like 3 videos up. It's still up. All you got to do is just look for it on YouTube. That's funny, Amy. Fluffy, yep. In the summertime, I tell people, I said, I don't go skinny dipping, I go chunky dunking. Do y'all go chunky dunking? Can't get no better than that. And my daughter-in-law's the same way. My son married one that's about my size, and he says the same thing. He didn't want no damn skinny girl because when they first got married, she would cry. I don't want him to go find a skinny girl that's prettier than me. And he kept telling her, if I wanted a skinny girl, I would have went and found a skinny girl. I like thick girls, and it took him forever to convince her that he really did want a thick girl. I live close to the Tennessee River. Oh, I make some killer cornbread and biscuits. Y'all keep on, and we're just gonna have to throw a get together, and everybody bring potluck. Everybody bring one dish, and we can meet at the rock piles down here at Tennessee River, and we can eat and then go chunky dunking. I'll make some dumplings. You know how to make grits? Out of a package. Or you order them from Cracker Barrel. I don't know nothing about homemade grits. I can make some hills, some fried shrimp. I can make some good greens. I said tonight I made red beans, homemade red beans and rice with uh, sausage and garlic bread. It was killer. I cooked them beans for almost 24 hours. Had bell pepper and onions in them. It was good. Tomorrow night I'll have them with leftovers and I'll probably make some fried potatoes and maybe some pork chops. Man, I have been craving some good meatloaf. That's a good idea. And see, I'm going to be all by myself for Christmas. Like I was all by myself at Thanksgiving. This will be my first Christmas without my son. You know, he passed away in July. Oh, really? I'd like to have that recipe. I'll look for it. Hey, that would be awesome. Come visit me on Christmas. Hey, my cornbread recipe, I never make it the same way twice. Because it's all up here. I'll probably go live. Because I had a really hard time at Thanksgiving. I thought I would be alright, but. And I have a feeling Christmas is going to be just a little bit worse than Thanksgiving was. Well, the other two kids live out of town. Corn pudding? What is that? Never heard of corn pudding. I will. I will schedule a live. Well, you know, somebody asked me if I had if I would put up an Amazon wish list. So I put up a wish list and it had like two items on it. And then some asshole come by and told, and you know, I don't ever ask for money or anything, or I'm not monetized. And some asshole come by with a bunch of hate. So I took my wish list down. Um, Tell me I was being greedy and blah, 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 and I shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, look, somebody asked me to post this. So I just took it down. Some people's just so hateful. It's hard, huh, Tracy? Cornbread with cream corn in it. That sounds good. I'll try it. I will really try that. Well, that's good. At least they're sharing an apartment together. Okay, I'll put it back up tonight. I don't even remember what was on it now. I think it was like one thing on it was like another 10 like this one had James Dean on it to go with Marilyn. I think was one of the things. I don't even remember what the other thing was. So Marilyn wouldn't be lonely. How do you do a movie together on Christmas Live? How do you do that? Like you talking about doing a panel? Like if y'all can walk me through that, how to get it set up and everything, we can. I've never done that. That would be kind of awesome, though. I don't even know how to drop my link. Okay, we can do that. What do I do? Just kind of screen share it to my TV or just talk me through how to do it and get it set up and we'll do that. Any movie on the TV. Okay, cool. We can do that. I got my tablet too. I'm trying to get like either a Chromebook or a laptop soon. That'll be easy too. Yes, I've got a TV with a DVD player, and I've got Hulu. I've got like a 52-inch TV in there, and I've got Hulu and all kinds of stuff. What's everybody's favorite Christmas movie? I always like the one where the kid gets shot in the eye with the BB gun. What was the name of that? Does anybody remember? A Christmas Story, where he gets the BB gun for Christmas and he gets shot in the eye with the BB gun. God, I ain't seen that guy since my kids were little. Yeah, you'll shoot your eye out, kid. And Miracle on 34th Street. I like that one. That's an old one. I love Gremlins too. Yeah, I'll put my list back up and I'll share the link. I like A Christmas Carol too. Guys, I appreciate that so much. That way I won't be by myself on Christmas. I forgot Gremlins was a Christmas movie. Home Alone too. I forgot. Yes, I forgot. And those are like classics. Did y'all see the guy who recently done his house in the National Lampoons? Um, and he's being ticketed every day for his house being up like that. Google it. I think y'all are awesome for sticking with me through that because this has got to be like the hardest time of my life. And I have said this before. If it wasn't for the true crime community in July, well, April, May, June, and especially July, my son started getting sick in January. But I really had to start taking care of him full time in April. And he started like the dying process in April. In April, May, June, and July was so hard. And it was the true crime community that was there for me. And that was all that I had. The few minutes that I had in between taking care of him, I didn't have time to watch a show or watch a movie or anything. It was, I could steal a few minutes here or there on YouTube. I could say a few words to somebody in the outside world on YouTube. I didn't have time for a phone call. I didn't have time to text anybody. But I did, I have time to watch a video and say something to strangers. And then I got to know a few of those strangers during that time. And if it wasn't for you guys, I don't know what I would have done. I really don't. Hey. And people don't realize just what effect that they have on people that they don't even know. or somebody that you've only spoken to a couple of times or a handful of times. What effect that you have on somebody that maybe you only speak to a couple times a month, but you do. Because I didn't have anybody else. And you guys just really come through for me. And I stress that because I want people to realize in chat when they say things to people, be mindful of what you say because you don't know what somebody else is going through at that time. And it doesn't take but just a second to say a kind word to somebody. And what you say to somebody in that second can make a difference. And sometimes between life and death. You don't know what that means to somebody when you say it. Don't cry. I'm okay. You guys just meant so much to me during that time. And I just don't know how to thank y'all for that. And I always try, when somebody comments, if I don't have time to answer it, I at least try to take time to either like it or heart it or something to at least let you know that I've seen it and I've responded to it. And I know a lot of creators don't do that. I at least try to do that to let you know that hey, I'm here. So if you ever need me, just leave a comment or email me because I will get back to you. Exactly. Exactly. And I have nobody's ever really attacked me, but I have seen people just get attacked in chat in just a second, the drop of a hat for no reason. And I'm thinking, wow, that person didn't even know. I mean, just wow. And glad that wasn't me. I've seen it happen to people. Um, and I thought, it only takes a second to be kind. So I try to be kind just because of what I went through from April to July. And I'm going to apologize to Miss Nita for what I said to her in her chat today. Because maybe I should have emailed her and said that in private and not out in public for everybody to see. After I've thought about that, that was kind of rude. So I do owe her a public apology for that. whether she was right or she was wrong or whatever, that shouldn't have been handled publicly. That's what's wrong in the true crime community, I think, is things are being handled publicly instead of privately. Now, there's some things like what's going on tonight with Jonathan Lee Ritchie's that needs to be said publicly. Thank you, Flower. No parent should ever have to bury their child. Ever. My son still doesn't have a headstone. I'm still working on that. That's something I've got to work on after Christmas. Because I have been sick and I haven't been working a lot. But anyway, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's. Things like that should be said out in the open because it is just so wrong. But other creators that we have to work with on a day to day basis, we should be trying to lift each other up. And I tore her down today. I tore her down publicly. And that was wrong. And Nita, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Sure thing, Lynn. Jonathan Lee Ritchie's is holding a sign on YouTube to begin with that says Free Susan Smith. And he is lobbying to free a woman that drowned four of her children. Now, this is a man that is supposedly trying to represent Summer Wells. How can you go to an investigator and try to represent a missing child where the parents are the prime suspects, and then on your other hand, you are lobbying to free a woman who has drowned four of her children in a lake? I'm sorry about that, Scott. If I remember correctly, this woman put her kids in car seats, strapped them in, put seat belts around them, left her home, drove 12 country miles. And country miles, if anybody knows country miles, that's quite a drive. Stopped at a stop sign, thought about what she was going to do, turned, drove a few more miles, come to the lake, drove to the boat ramp, drove her car straight in. Well, she got out, put her car in neutral, and let the car roll off at the boat ramp. Started walking home. After she got so many miles back that way, she called somebody to pick her up. Said her car got stolen by a couple of black men, and the kids were in the car. So she had the whole community looking for two black men that supposedly carjacked the car, and they looked for these kids for almost as long as we've looked for Summer Wells. Before the top of the car was finally spotted, And when they pulled the car up, of course, they find these kids strapped in the car seats, drowned, by their parent. And it was tragic. It was sad. And it happened in South Carolina. And you've got Jonathan Lee Ritchie over here holding a sign saying, "Free Susan Smith." Does that sound like a woman that needs to be free? Yeah, the boyfriend didn't want kids. And it may have been 3 kids, not 4. I think it was 3, not 4. It doesn't matter how many kids it was. It doesn't matter if it was 1 kid. 2, okay. It was Andrea Yates that had 3 kids, wasn't it? Anyway, like I said, it doesn't matter if it was 1 kid, 2 kids, or 3 kids. She drowned them. And we've looked for those kids for a very long time. And Jonathan Lee Ritchie's is over here now saying, "Free Susan Smith, free Susan Smith." Um, he has claimed that he was the uncle to the boy that shot 20 kids in Sandy Hook school. He showed up there 2 days after the shooting. He fell to his knees and started praying there at the memorial and the vigil. He was riding around with 2 dolls that had masks drawn out to look like the shooter and his brother. And he was riding these dolls all around Sandy Hook, or what was that town called? Newtown. Riding all around Newtown talking to these dolls. He admitted to the authorities that he had severe mental illness when they arrested him. Uh, what was the other mass murderers? Hold on, let's Google and see. He bullies veterans. He's he did hold the world's record for the most lawsuits ever filed. And the reason he does not hold that record anymore is because he sued the Guinness Book of World's Records for releasing the number of lawsuits that he has actually filed. He is not a vet, he is a felon. Let's see, here's a list of lawsuits. And either they waive his fees because he's poor, or the taxpayers pay his fees on these lawsuits that he files. Uh, let's see. The Michael Ballard mass murderer case. The Pennsylvania inmate is known in cyberspace as the most litigious man in history. To his cult following on the internet, he's a modern comic genius. To the court system, he's a scourge. His unending frivolous lawsuits, nothing to laugh about. Jonathan Lee Riches has sued Anne Hathaway because while filming in Philadelphia, she didn't visit the federal prison where he was jailed at the time. He sued wide receiver Terrell Owens, charging Owens spiked quarterback Devon McNabb's water bottle with the sedative Lunesta during the fourth quarter of the legal Super Bowl loss, costing Riches hundreds of dollars in a jailhouse bet. A 37-year-old white guy from the Philadelphia suburbs, Riches once filed a civil rights complaint against Black History Month. I can't believe it's not butter. He sued Green River serial killer Gary Ridgway. He sued actor Danny DeVito, Hollywood madam Heidi Fleiss, Serbian strongman Slobodan Milosevic, who had died 2 years earlier. He sued Amtrak, Greyhound, and several airlines, saying their high rates were preventing the love of his life from visiting him. Riches has even sued the Guinness Book of World Records, claiming it wanted to recognize him for filing the most lawsuits in the history of mankind, and complaining that the many nicknames he has been tagged with, including Johnny Tsunami and Superman and Patrick Ewing of suing, were hurting his feelings. So, is it any wonder that Riches has now turned his attention to mass murderer Michael Eric Ballard? In a legal filing 2 weeks ago, Riches sought to intervene in the case involving Ballard, who is on death row for massacring 4 people in Northampton in 2010. Riches promised newly discovered evidence for the court's consideration and vowed to produce graphs, charts, photographs, exhibits, and telephone transcripts. The motion, signed by Riches and 4 others, whose name may or may not be noms de plume of his, which he has done before, will be going the way of his or other suits, that is, into the dustbin of the legal system, into the nether region of the World Wide Web, where Riches has a small but dedicated group of admirers that includes his own fan club. Generally, these kinds of things I deposit into a waste basket, Northampton County District Attorney says of Rich's request, adding, I have enough real stuff to do and deal with. That's not a problem for Riches, who filed most of his lawsuits while serving a 125-month federal sentence for his part in ripping people off through internet phishing scams. Prosecutors said spam emails were sent to tens of thousands of AOL customers asking for their personal identification information. The information was then sold to Riches, who used it to take out credit card accounts in other people's names, according to court records. Good night, Flower. And it goes on to say after he got out of prison, he traveled to Sandy Hook Elementary School, where he reportedly false claimed to the media outlets he was the uncle of killer Adam Lanza. A self made video posted on YouTube showed Riches driving to Lanza's house, homemade dolls of Lanza and his brother Ryan on the passenger seat. When Riches arrived on the street, he was turned away by a police blockade, the video showed. And I posted that video, so it's on there. And I don't want to keep boring y'all with this on and on. I have kept y'all for 131 minutes, so I'm going to let y'all all go to bed. It's 11:30 at night here. And if you want more information, like I said, I posted all those videos on my page. I love you all. I hope you have a good night. Sweet dreams. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want, you can send a PayPal to goddess.sin77@gmail.com or Cash App at $Valkyrie.sin, or you can wait till after Christmas to do it, and that'll be fine with me. Love y'all and sweet dreams, and I'll see you tomorrow.